Today I'm going to try to draw this harbor view in Tenby, Wales, and first things first, what's the deal with part 1 in the title, I hear you asking? And what a great question. A bit obvious though, isn't it? No, this is indeed part 1 of 2, and the reason for that is simple. This went on for way too long. In total, this one drawing took 30 minutes, and that's too long. It's way too long. It was too long sitting there, too long for one video, and way too long for me to narrate it. So I've decided to just split it into 2 parts. I also decided to speed them up just a bit because even 2 15-minute videos, they're hard to manage. So there you go. This is the first time I've tried this, so please in the comments let me know how you feel about it. But I like it. I like the idea, so I hope you do too. This isn't something I would like to overuse. I don't want to do it all the time, but it is something I'd like to keep in my back pocket for, when references like these just demand more of my time. You can see there's so much going on here, and so I never want to rush through it. Anyway, speaking of this reference, check it out. Isn't it beautiful? There's a bunch of boats out there. Will I know what to do with them? No, I won't. But we really don't have to worry about that today. That's tomorrow me's problem. You'll see that in part 2. For now, even though I do get things rolling with this boat in the foreground, it's really only an anchor. Get it? An anchor, sorry. But seriously, it's there for me to just understand the scale of this whole scene. And it's a really good thing I did, because without it, I think that background would have come rushing forward fast. It's not why I chose this, but given all of the little details up there, it's hard to restrain the urge to exaggerate it. But with this little ghost ship in the foreground, I'm reminded constantly that there's a lot more to this scene than those buildings, and especially that tower, which we'll get to later. While I get my bearings with these incredibly scratchy lines, let's take a minute to once again appreciate our friend Rowan, whose sliver of a foot and sketchbook you can just make out in the top right-hand corner. He has been with me every step of the way for the past 4 days, giving these drawings a shot right alongside me. While he does get up and move somewhere around the halfway point, you'll see, it wasn't because he was finished. He's not that good, but actually because he pretty much lost feeling from the waist down. Does that mean that I didn't lose feeling? No, it does not. Even at this point in the drawing, this early on, my legs have all but turned to jelly. I feel nothing. When this is all over, the pins and needles are crazy, and they'll nearly throw me off of this ledge, which, if you can see, is tall. It's probably 20 feet down to the beach. So it's awful, but I do it for you. I actually do it for me, mostly, but I do it a little bit for you. Anyway, riveting stuff today, I know. So Tenby, what a picturesque little town, huh? It's our first stop on our little road trip, and I have to say, and I actually did say to my wife and to Rowan, that I could have just stayed here all day. It's such a beautiful place, especially in this morning light, which I'm usually never awake for, especially not for drawing. But really, I could have sat here all day. Well, not sat, because, the leg thing. Anyway, Tenby was incredible, and it reminded me a lot of my first time seeing the English coast. It was 2018, and we were down in Falmouth in Cornwall. And it's actually where we met Rowan. As opposed to these perfect conditions you're seeing on screen, though, it was March. And if anyone remembers the Beast from the East that year, well, we were there for the full brunt of it. If you're unaware, the Beast from the East was a wave of cold weather from Scandinavia that brought heavy snow to Britain. Funny enough, we've only ever been to that part of England during the off-season, and we've been for a combined 6 or 7 months over the years. Despite that, we've always loved the coast, regardless of time of year. So arriving here felt really comfortable and nostalgic in a way, thanks in part to how similar Tenby feels to Falmouth. at least from an outsider's perspective. If anything, being here makes me want to head back down to Cornwall to see it during the summer months. I'm sure it's incredible. Right, so the drawing. You'll notice that I keep kind of bouncing from one thing to the next, and that's just due to all of this detail. My eye doesn't know what to focus on, so I keep getting distracted, and I convince myself it makes sense because I don't want to lose track of the proportions. That's fair, sort of, but it does ultimately come down to the fracturing of my attention. But anyway, as you can see, these buildings in this central portion are the only ones I've really had much time for, which is ironic because before sitting down to draw, I actually said out loud that I was going to ignore them entirely. I figured it would make the whole drawing a lot cleaner and simpler. And if I turn that whole area into a big kind of wedge of foliage right there in the middle, I think that would be nice. But as I got going, I realized, one, I'm really struggling with the foliage in general. You may have noticed right before I drew the first building on the right. And two, as much as I say I want to use my imagination and refer to these references rather than copy them, my brain doesn't always obey that. And like Rowan mentioned in the waterfall video, this process has a way of forcing you into like a state change. It's mesmerizing. So sometimes it's futile trying to control tiny details and decisions like those. At this stage, I'm drawing in the individual shapes of these buildings on top, and that reminds me of how different people can have different approaches to the exact same thing. So as I was dividing these up, drawing each shape individually, Rowan made one long strip for the silhouette of the entire row of houses, and then cut slices out of it for each facade. And I just find that so interesting. Not that he did it that specific way, but that our eyes looking at the exact same thing see completely different ways forward. My approach to him might seem counterproductive and, I don't know, needlessly specific, maybe even slow. And his approach to me seems simpler, but ultimately more dependent on his ability to see that full shape, disregarding those details and accurately representing it before dividing it up. I know that for me, I would struggle to see that broad shape and put it on paper accurately, that it's something I'd like to improve upon. However, that doesn't make my way incorrect because at the end of the day, that's probably what would have worked best for me today. Anyway, I just found it really interesting, and I wish we had even more time to draw together so I could espy all the idiosyncrasies and little deviations in method. Not only would it be fun to see, but it could also be educational to see the way someone else innately approaches the exact same problem. I'm doing all of these, this one and every other one you've seen, just the way that my brain tells me to do it. I'm not following any specific method. I'm just looking at the scene and I go by feeling. My gut says start here, and so that's where I start. Okay, anyway, this one is actually speeding by. So as we come into the final stretch of part one, I'll just quickly touch on my approach to the tower in the background. I ignore it completely for as long as I possibly can. And I do so because I didn't want it to take up any more brain space than it already was, because it was pretty much all I could focus on as it is. So if I could ignore it for as long as possible, that would be better. Anyway, you'll see more of it tomorrow. So see you tomorrow for part 2. Thanks.